Bum, 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 bum. Welcome. Welcome to the Thunderdome, baby. Welcome back to .NET Phillies. My name is Jared. I'm your host with the most. And we got an action-packed episode today. Not really. Like I've said before, it's kind of hard talking about a very good baseball team because there's not a lot of complaining to be had. And that's all I really do. And that's kind of why I created this, was kind of to be an outlet to complain to all these lovely people. Shout out to the Chick-fil-A Cup right here. I got Chick-fil-A last night for dinner. But before we get into it, some personal news. Um, I was I don't know why I say I. So on Sunday, we welcomed another member of the Roberts family into our lives. My nephew was born, and so we've been hanging out with the little guy. Very, very awesome. He's the best. He's just a little nugget. He's very, very sweet, very, very, very tiny, as you can expect a 3-day-old baby to be. But very, I thank God every day that he's healthy. My sister-in-law is very healthy. My brother has not lost his mind yet. So all good on all fronts. So if today's episode is a little shorter, that's why I've been helping out as much as I can with the baby. So um, if you will please excuse me for that. I also have soft pretzel here. I haven't eaten all day, so it's my show. I can do whatever the hell I want. Mm. I swear to God, there is nothing better than a soft pretzel, a Philly soft pretzel, and a regular Coke. I'm not a regular Coke guy. I'm a Diet Coke guy or a Coke Zero guy. However, we have a lot left over. We had a family party, and I took on the burden of of drinking all of the regular Coke. So that is my burden to to wear. So I will be snacking a little bit because I'm hungry. So, yeah. So, in today's episode, we're going to go over we have the London series. The Phillies split that series, and a little bit of talking about the Red Sox as well. The reason it's going to be a little shorter today is because there's not a lot of games to talk about. Phillies had a lot of off days. Um, we have John's hot takes, a couple minor league things we're going to go over, as well as Matt's due to the week, as well as the series preview against the Baltimore Orioles, as well as the San Diego Padres. So let's do it. So Phillies and Mets faced off in London since the last time we met. The Phillies split that series. Really should have been a sweep, but we'll get to that. Um, that was awesome. I mean, we have to talk about the Fox broadcast and talking about the London series because they were like, oh yeah, by the way, Phillies and Mets are playing in London. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Guys, did you know the Yankees and Dodgers are playing today? Like, are you serious right now? Like, this event happens once a year and you're talking about the Yankees versus the Dodgers? Yes. Could be a World Series matchup. It's not going to be, but because we all know that both of those teams are going to choke prior to making it to the World Series. So why are we even talking about it? We can go around and around 1,000 times over. We know the Dodgers are not making it to the World Series. We know the Yankees are not making it to the World Series because that would be the most toxic World Series of all time because both of those fan bases suck. They suck. The the Yankees fan base sucks. Yankees fans are what the media thinks Philly fans are. You with me here? Philly fans are passionate, yes, and are we garbage? Yes, and we embrace that. But we support our guys. We're like we saw a prime example with Trey Turner last year. We've seen it with guys like we'll let you know when you suck, but you're our guys. We're gonna back you up no matter what. With Yankees, for God's sakes, you have Trent Grisham up, and they're going, we want Soto, and Trent Grisham bangs a home run over over the Little League wall that they have over there in Yankee Stadium. Like, I don't know, they suck. And the Dodger fans are just it's the Dodger fans. And we all know Dave Roberts sucks in the playoffs. Like, Dave Roberts is not a good manager. Can we stop pretending like he's this guru that does all this stuff? If I was given a team with the one of the best rotations, one of the best bullpens, and the best lineup, I could do what Dave Roberts does, for God's sakes. He doesn't move the needle at all, you know? Like, every year, year after year, he chokes in the playoffs, makes the wrong moves, just every year with the Dodgers. So I was so sick and tired of hearing, oh, a potential World Series matchup. Sure, potential World Series matchup is also, the A's and the Phillies. There's a potential World Series matchup. You get my point? You see what I'm trying to say here? It's egregious and it was terrible and awful. Like, why in God's name, when we have this series that happens once a year, why the hell are we talking about the Yankees and the Dodgers? Like, are we serious, Fox? Like, really? Oh, and don't even get me started on Michael Kay. Speaking of awfulness about the Yankees, Michael Kay might be the worst play-by-play announcer I have ever heard. I hated him during the wild. Like, look, let me rephrase here. Michael Kay is a very good announcer for the New York Yankees. I think he does an incredible job sticking with just the Yankees. When he does, what's the word I'm looking for? When he does nationally televised games, I think he's awful. The reason I think he's better with the Yankees is because he knows those players a lot better. He knows their story, where they're coming from, what they're good at, what they're not good at. And now when you're on these national broadcasts, you don't really know those players as well, but you can still kind of piece together, like, when the way he said Castellanos and Schwarber drove me nuts. And you have David Dahl coming off of the bench in Sunday's game. David Dahl gets a pinch hit solo home run to give the Phillies the lead late. And yes, they lost the game, but we'll get to that. To give the Phillies the lead late. And he's like, and there's a high fly ball to left and gone. David Dahl home run. A good commentator is losing it. You know who would have done a great job? Joe frickin' Davis. Our guy, Joe Davis. Everybody knows this is a pro Joe Davis podcast. Joe Davis, outside of Tom McCarthy, is my favorite commentator, my favorite play-by-play guy. I love Joe Davis. For those of you who don't know who Joe Davis is, Joe Davis is the announcer that was with the Phillies during the NLDS, the NLCS, and the World Series during 2022. He is the main Fox announcer. We saw him a couple weeks ago do the Phillies and St. Louis game on Saturday. So Joe Davis, I love Joe Davis. Wow, love Joe Davis. Any Hoosers, to the games themselves. Again, it's my podcast. I can do what I want. You have the London series, and I got to give credit. The Phillies and the Mets, it was an excellent series. It was a lot of back and forth. It really, the Phillies kind of dominated in game one, and game two was a lot more back and forth. And that's just really because of one bad decision. But I mean, you got to give credit. I mean, the Mets, they played hard. They played well. They didn't give up. They kept fighting. And, the fans, I mean, it was a lot of Phillies fans, a lot of Mets fans. It was awesome. It was a great environment. Game one, you had Harper with the home run and the soccer celebration, and Topper sitting there going, what the hell are you doing? You had Whit Merrifield had a very good series. You had guys step up, and in terms of pitching, you have Ranger. Ranger kind of got touched around a little bit, but you really got to think Ranger really didn't pitch last week because he had that hand injury. So it was kind of like he's been off for a couple weeks. So Ranger coming back still pitched extremely well. And the bullpen just kind of locked it down. And then we got to Sunday's game. So Sunday was kind of a whirlwind for me personally. So again, I'm sorry. I'm just hungry. Sunday was kind of a whirlwind. Ashlyn and I were back at my dad's house because we were visiting. I then get a text message from my older brother, Sean. For those of you who don't know, I live with Sean. I moved in with him. So I'm with my dad. I get a text from Sean saying, hey, Sister-in-law's water broke. We're going to the hospital. I needed to get back down here. I needed help with the dogs and a couple other things. So it's like 7 in the morning. Ashlyn and I get up and we're running around and we get up there and I'm kind of like in and out with the game. I was helping finish up the nursery and kind of organize stuff and everything like that. And when I say we, I mean really Ashlyn was the one organizing everything. Because that's just who she is. She's just an incredible human being. Thinking of everybody else prior to hers. That's why I love her so much. But she was organizing everything. I was helping when asked and everything like that because she's the type where it's like, let me do it. If I need you, I'll go get you. So that's kind of how that dynamic works. So we were kind of putting everything together, and I was kind of off and on with the Phillies. You had the clutch hits and everything like that. And then you get to the big decision. I got to give credit here. Taiwan Walker pitched extremely well. I've been trying something that I noticed. It felt like he was throwing his curveball significantly more. So let me see. Baseball Savant. I want to see something here because it just felt like he was establishing the fastball earlier in counts and using that a lot more and playing off his fastball and splitter off of his curveball, as opposed to establishing the fastball and having his curve and split play off of that. Let me see. Let me go game logs. So um does it just have pitching all pitches? So maybe he didn't use it that much. Sweeper, sinker, cutter, cutter. Is he just out? I'm looking. Oh god, they're doing a lot of stuff here. Let me see off speed. Here we go. Splitter breaking is what I want. Sweeper curveball, sweeper curveball. I don't want just outs. I just want all plate appearances, pitching, breaking, all directions. It's just giving me the outs, which is frustrating me because I was on something. I just felt like he was using his curveball earlier in counts and establishing the curveball, and the fastball and splitter played off of that even more and even better. That is just something that I took note of. And if that is going to be the plan moving forward with Taiwan, by all means, if they could figure something out where Taiwan is at least serviceable, I think this Phillies rotation obviously is set up 1 through 4. Now, if they can get anything good out of Taiwan 5, the sky's the limit with this team. Um, and something that and then we get to the decision. Um, so Taiwan has a short leash going out of this game. Taiwan, very short leash. It was 2 runners on in the 7th. No, 6th. And then first man out of the bullpen was Greg Soto. The hell are we doing here? What? Okay. Greg Soto's the first one out of the bullpen, and to nobody's surprise other than Rob Thompson, he blows the lead immediately. It took him 3 pitches to blow the lead. Phillies blow the lead. Then you get the pinch hit home run by David Dahl, and everyone's like, yeah, Phillies back. And then Alvarado. Alvarado was very uncharacteristically bad. Just couldn't locate. It felt like he was going more playing with a lot of adrenaline and not in a good way, because Jose Alvarado, as we know, he pitches with a lot of emotion, adrenaline, all that stuff. And it just felt like he was more so out of the element, which worries me a little bit come playoff time. Not playoff, more so like World Series. If the Phillies get there, is he going to be able to handle it? I think so. I just think this was just an outing that was just happened. I'm not necessarily worried about Jose Alvarado because we saw last night lock the door down against the Red Sox. So Alvarado, I'm not worried about whatsoever. And I honestly think England might think that Whit Merrifield is the greatest Philly of all time. Um, Whit had a very good series. He's in the lineup tonight against Boston and Nick Pivetta, so we'll see. Excuse me. We'll see how he does tonight. But I mean, you got to give him credit, man. Like he had a few hits in this series. He played well, and that's something that Topper was kind of emphasizing that he believes that the more time that Whit Merrifield is in the lineup, the better he is going to be. So we'll have to wait and see when it comes to that. And that was kind of it for the England series. It wasn't anything worth of noting. There was an excellent play. From the Mets catcher on that double play with the bases loaded to get Casty. It was a very, very good play. Yeah, it was just a very nice series. It was a very awesome thing for baseball. It was an awesome thing for MLB. You're spreading the game, and that's kind of the point of having a series like this. It's kind of like this is the sport, and this is a good rivalry, the Phillies and the Mets. And sure, the Phillies are better than the Mets right now, but this is historically a very good rivalry, and that's kind of what they're trying to instill, being like these rivalries. Because when you are a fan, when you are how do I want to say this? One of the things that my grandfather kind of instilled in me when I first started loving baseball was you fall in love with the player, and then you fall in love with the team, and then that team and fandom and so on and so forth. So for someone overseas who loves the way Bryce Harper plays the game, that's another Phillies fan. Or loves the way that Francisco Lindor fields and shortstop, that's another Mets fan out there that's not from New York, that's not from Philadelphia. That is what this is all about, is growing the game and expanding this beautiful sport that we all love. And that is something that MLB has done an excellent, excellent job with. We have the England series, you had the Mexico series last year, you had the Field of Dreams games, you had there's another specialty game happening. Uh, Specialty MLB game. Yeah, neutral sites. Let me get to 2020. Oh yeah, we have the Giants and the Cardinals playing at Rickwood Field. This is what it says on Wikipedia. The 2024 ML. Let me journalism here. This is what it says on Wikipedia. Quote: The 2024 MLB at Rickwood Field game will be the first MLB game played in the state of Alabama. Willie Mays played in the Negro Leagues at Rickwood Field from 1948 to 1950. The game is a replacement for the Field of Dreams game due to the construction at the site in Iowa, end quote. We also have on August 18th, we have the New York Yankees and the Detroit Tigers playing in the Little League Classic in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. That's really cool. I mean, it's awesome, man. This is what MLB is all about here. It is just expanding the game as much as we possibly can, and this is kind of one of the things that that carries that tradition on. So getting to the Red Sox series, the Phillies have only played one game in that series due to an off day. They won last night. But prior to that game, JT Realmuto was placed on the 10-day IL. He was getting meniscus surgery on his right knee. The timetable is about 4 to 6 weeks for that. Dave Dombrowski kind of spoke about it a little bit, and I agree with him. JT easily could have played through this, but I would much rather have a fully healthy JT during the stretch run come July, August, September into October, rather than a gruntled JT going through the dog days of summer, and he's half the player that we know he can be, and he's a liability. The Phillies are very fortunate to where they've built a 10-game lead in the National League East, to where, and you're getting Trey Turner back this week. You're getting Brandon Marsh back this week. This lineup reinforcements are on their way. So, and the Phillies have had this mentality all year where it's just next man up. Whoever it is, the next man up. That next guy is Stubbs. With when Turner went down, it was Sosa. When Marsh went down, it was Dahl. Like, these guys are next man up, and we're gonna fight for you. Rafael Marchand was recalled from AAA. We saw Marchand in 2020 and 2021. I view this as almost a showcase for Rafael Marchand. You can maybe flip him. He's been in trade rumors for years now. And if he performs well, that's another chip you can do to go get a Luis Robert, to go get a whoever. He can be a throw in. But we'll see what Marchand's got. It looks like Stubby is going to be taking a majority of the time there. Or maybe they want Marchand to have most of the time to be a showcase to boost up his value and be like, hey, this guy can take reps at the MLB level right now. Maybe they could flip him instead of trading a Mick Abel, and we'll get to Mick Abel because there's a lot to talk about there. But instead of trading an Aiden Miller or a Justin Crawford, here's Rafael Marchand who can get MLB, who's MLB ready right now. So we'll see how they kind of platoon Stubbs and Marchand. They're both lefties, so it's not really an advantage lefty righty. Regardless, they both are batting left-handed. So we'll see where Marchand kind of does and how he does facing major league pitching. He's facing Nick Pivetta, former Philly, tonight. I believe he caught Nick Pivetta, or maybe he was called up after the Phillies traded Pivetta in 20. That is I'm actually very curious to see if Rafael Marchand ever caught Nick Pivetta. Rafael Marchand. So let me just go to game logs. Let me go. No, it was all after the Phillies traded Nick Pivetta. So there we go. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm very excited to see a little bit more of Rafael Marchand, see what he really is about. So we'll see. And it's official. I had a whole segment dedicated to raising my concerns about Kyle Schwarber, and then he goes out and hits 2 home runs last night. So there goes that, I guess. I was very happy to see Kyle Schwarber do what he did. 2 home runs. June Schwarber is here. You had the Wet Bandits with Bohm and Stott go over and be like June. So that was really cool to see. But Schwarber, you could kind of see in his at bats, he was right there. He was right there. He was on it. He was on it. He was on it. Like when is it going to break? And it finally did last night on the first pitch of the game. He took Cutter Crawford deep, and then later on in the game, took them deep. So we'll see. We've seen stretches, and I talked about this at a couple episodes back to back here. Like, as struggling as Kyle Schwarber can be, he can go on these runs where he just hits 5 home runs in 3 games or 10 home runs in a week or 2 weeks. We've seen him go on stretches like this before, and I feel like we're in for one of those runs right now. And good thing, because JT is out. Trey is going to be cold coming back. Same thing with Marsh. Harper's looking to heat up a little bit. Stott, he had a couple hits last night, but I need to see it more consistent before I start being like, okay, Stott's back. Sosa's cooled off significantly, and now you kind of Rojas is Rojas. So getting Schwarber to be Schwarber is going to be huge for this team. The Philly starters are just unreal. It's getting to the point where the Philly starters could keep going, but they legitimately need to get pulled at 88 pitches or 90 pitches in the 7th inning because the bullpen needs work. That's a great problem to have, especially going into October when you know that bullpen's going to be used. It is a very, very good problem to have. I mean, last night, Zach Wheeler easily could have gone out for the 8th inning. He was dealing. He had 88 pitches coming out of the 7th, but he got pulled for Matt Strahm. Good move, especially off of a lot of rest, and he threw 115 pitches in his last start prior to the London series. So it was probably the correct move going with only pulling him with only 88 pitches. So I think that was the right move on their part. But the Philly starters are just stupid, and I kind of touched on it a little bit in the Taiwan segment that, like, look, if you can get a 4 out of Taiwan, this rotation is ridiculous. You know what Wheeler's going to get. His 212 Ranger is Ranger. He's going to start the All-Star game. Nola has been incredible. Chris Sanchez is molding into a star. And Taiwan, if you can get what you got Sunday, Taiwan consistently, it's the best rotation in baseball. I think right now it is the best rotation in baseball, despite Taiwan Walker being as good as he is, or as bad as he is, excuse me. Um, so, and then we got to talk about Matt Strom. I mean, I've had two separate episodes this season speaking about Matt Strom. I mean, Matt Strom is just unreal. I mean, 27 innings, uh, 28 games, 27 innings to a 0.67 ERA with 39 strikeouts. Has a 6.07 ERA plus. Is that good? What I love about Matt Strom is he's not afraid to throw strikes. He challenges hitters. Of course, we know that about Strom. He's going to challenge guys. But it's an uncomfortable at bat. I mean, for righties, he jams you in. For lefties, it's the same thing. He's able to dot that fastball, that rising fastball right on you. And, the Phillies said, we want you, he gave him the 1 year extension with the team option for a second year. And he's treating them to an all-star appearance. I mean, this is a win-win. This is why we gave Matt Strom that extension. It's like, we know you can do it now. Here's the money. Go do it. And he's cashing in on exactly what he promised he would. So it's awesome, 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 awesome. Matt Strom, Matt Strom, Matt Strom, Matt Strom. So moving on, that is kind of all I got in terms of those games. Again, not a lot to talk about. There was only 3 games played between my last episode and now, so there's only really so much we can talk about. Now we're moving on to John's hot takes. John is my manager. He manages this whole thing, and he has a lot of hot takes, and he decided so many that made a segment out of it. So here we go. His first hot take, I don't think this is really much of a hot take. It is more so just a matter of fact. Caleb Cotham simply cannot leave this organization. Caleb Cotham is the single most, I would say the second most important person in this organization outside of Dave Dombrowski. What he is able to do with these pitchers is ridiculous. And a lot of the pitchers, and I think it was an article in 22 talking with Andrew Bellotti, it was, he kind of said, throw your best pitch the most often because it is your best pitch for a reason. And what he's done with fringe guys like what he's turned Chris Sanchez into, even Ranger Suarez, what he has done with fringe guys like Andrew Bellotti, like Jeff Hoffman, like Jose Ruiz, even Alvarado, Sir Anthony. He just elevates these guys. Even what he's done with Orion Kirkering this year, establishing that fastball early and then play the sweeper off of it. He is just the single most important person to this organization. He is not allowed to leave. You are not allowed to leave, Caleb. Do you understand me? Do you understand? You're not allowed to leave, Caleb. Sorry, bud. You're staying. I think he wants to stay too. What is his contract? I'm pretty sure they extended him, but hold on. No, is this just his playing contract, or do they have his contract with the Phillies? Yeah, no, it's just they don't have his contract, but he's never allowed to leave. Give him a blank check and be like, here, do whatever you want, take whatever you want. Kind of touched on the London series covers. That was the other thing. Here's the thing. I'm an Italian. I'm a Philly Italian. So take that for what you will. But John's take here, and I agree with it. Vodka sauce is the best sauce for pasta. It beats marinara. It beats Alfredo. Vodka sauce is the best, especially when you have a vodka sauce chicken parm. Oh, baby. So I agree with it. I love vodka sauce. I think it is the superior sauce when it comes to pasta and everything like that. And I hope you all agree with me. And even if you don't, I don't care. It's my podcast. I can do what I want. I can do what I want. Vodka sauce, very good. Moving on to a little bit of football here. Pardon me. Moving on to a little bit of football. John's hot take about the Philadelphia Eagles. Very not take, but just in general, this is a very make or break year for the Eagles. You have Nick Sirianni, who was on the hot seat after the collapse last year. You have people doubting Jalen Hurts for whatever reason. You have a brand new defense, revamped, younger, which is good, but question marks. Offensively, you add Saquon, but you are missing a huge piece of that offensive line with the retirement of Jason Kelsey. So you have, a new offensive line, really it is. But there's a lot of question marks. New offensive coordinator, Jalen Hurts came out and said, quote, 95% of the offense is different, which is good because Brian Johnson's offense was atrocious. Especially, the bubble screens and the QB draws on third and just so bad. He was so bad at his job. But Kellen Moore, good hire. Vic Fangio, great hire. And so coming back to Vic Fangio and defense, the defense was the big thing last year. It was just 15 guys who didn't know how to tackle. And you went from Sean Desai to Matt Patricia halfway through the season. Bad, just bad all the way around. You let Drew Lock go down the field against the Seahawks. It was just bad all the way around. But John's hot take is Nolan Smith Jr. is going to have more sacks than Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff was signed by the Eagles from the Jets, or was he traded? Was it signed or traded? I think it was signed, but I'm pretty sure it was signed. Yes, signed. Signed by the Eagles, kind of to replace Hassan Reddick. But he believes Nolan Smith is going to be better than Bryce Huff, and I kind of agree. Not to say I think Bryce Huff is going to be bad, but I just think it's a bit of a downgrade, in my opinion, from Bryce Huff to Hassan Reddick. That's just me. Called my Temple bias all you want. I love Hassan Reddick. I have his jersey, and of course, they trade him when I love him the most. But I get it. It took a lot of money off the books, and you were able to extend Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and all that stuff. So, yes, I understand it was a necessary move. I do understand the business aspect of it, but I still love you, Hassan. Any Hoosers. Moving on to the minor league digest, you have George Klassen and Aiden Miller have been promoted to high A. This is much deserved. George Klassen has been fantastic, and Aiden Miller, he's going to be a star. And now we have to kind of have an uncomfortable conversation regarding the Phillies' first-round pick from a couple years ago, Mick Abel. Mick Abel has not, mind you, he is still 22, so settle down. But in Lehigh Valley, 10 starts, 45 and a 2/3 to a 6.31 ERA. So really not great. Now, Phillies have two options here. They can either trade him while he still has some value, if they so choose. Him and Marchand could be in a deal depending on the way Marchand plays. Or you just kind of ride him out. One thing, I think it was Jack Fritz said on WIP, that if the Phillies saw a package for Mick Abel, they would have pulled the trigger, but maybe nobody's biting on Mick Abel as much as they thought, because a lot of teams would probably want Painter, and we're not trading Andrew Painter no matter what. I saw potentially the worst trade for Luis Robert. It was the Phillies trade Andrew Painter, Mick Abel, Griff McGarry, Aiden Miller, and Justin Crawford to the White Sox for Luis Robert. Whoever came up with that trade is absolutely crazy. I'm not trading. You're getting Griff McGarry max for Luis Robert. I don't care how much of a superstar he is. He has been healthy once. Let's see. Let's go to Luis Robert. Trust me, let me cook. So Luis Robert has been in the league since 2020. He played 56 games out of 60 in 2021, played only 160, played 68 games out of 162. 22 only played 98 games. 23 played 145, and so far this year he's played 14 games. So let me get the trusty dusty calculator out. So no, not calendar. God, I hate this thing. Calculator. So we have 56. So let's see, it's 60 plus 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, let me just do this. Okay. So we have 162 times 4 plus 60. So 708 games. And so 381 divided by 708. He has played in 54% of the potential games over his big league career. I'm not trading anybody of significance for a guy who's only played 50% of his games since joining the major leagues. And that's plain and simple. So, yeah. Any Hoosers. Matt's Dude of the Week. Those of you who don't know, Matt Saporsky, friend of the program, gives me a dude every week. Because who doesn't love talking about dudes as a baseball fan? Just having some beers, talking about, remember that guy? My guy today was a catcher, first baseman, left fielder for the Dodgers, the Marlins, the Mets, the Nats. It's Paul LaDuca, everybody. Paul LaDuca. Woo, Paul LaDuca. All right. So Paul LaDuca kind of raked. In 11 years in the big leagues, he played 7 years for the Dodgers, 3 for the Marlins, 2 for the Mets, 1 for the Nationals. So loved the NL East when he was not with the Dodgers. His 162 game average, pretty good. 286 to a 746 OPS, not too bad as a guy who kind of played a little bit all around the diamond and he wasn't too bad. Let me see game logs. I want to see what. Oh, here we go. Started fielding. Yeah, here we go. So he played 11 seasons catching, had let me see. So for the he was primarily a catcher, but then played a little first, outfield, DH, and everything like that. So, but primarily as a catcher, not too bad. Paul LaDuca, everybody. Paul LaDuca. Now moving on to the series preview against the Baltimore Orioles. Could be potential World Series preview. Baltimore has been one of the best teams in baseball for about 2 years now. You have your young guys in there, Adley, Gunnar, Colton Cowser, their rotation of Corbin Burns. You have Grayson Rodriguez. And they're back into the bullpen. We know who's back there, Mr. Lost us the World Series last year back there, so I can't wait to get shut down by him in the ninth inning. Can't wait for that. But kind of the goal here is to kind of mitigate Gunnar Henderson, really. Gunnar has been one of the best hitters power-wise in baseball. If you kind of mitigate him, you can maybe work around their bullpen, or excuse me, their guys a little bit. But even then, it's going to be a tough series. But the Phillies can go toe-to-toe with anybody. You're going to get Trey back. You're going to get Brandon Marsh back. So they'll be kind of hard. They're kind of at fuller strength than they are right now going in this series against the Red Sox. Then after the Baltimore series, we have the San Diego Padres. The Phillies swept them earlier this year. Just take care of business. They acquired Luis Arias soon after the Phillies swept them. So don't let them beat you. Just take care of business. You know what you have to do. And yeah, so just Baltimore, San Diego, 4-2. Could they go 4-2? I'd be very happy with 4-2. But just take care of business. We know what we got to do. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you watched, subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Follow all my socials down below, and I will see you guys next Wednesday.